And it's also a privilege to defend my voting record that I've had over the years. This is a piece of my first campaign literature from my first race many years ago. In this, I promise to be pro-family, pro-life, pro-business, anti-tax, and anti-big government. And I believe the most important thing for a person in public service is to be true to their word. Pro-family and pro-life. I've always been endorsed by Kentucky Right to Life, and I'm a proud member of my church, and I serve it with all my heart. Pro-business. I've been recognized by the Kentucky Chamber and the Louisville Chamber for the support for them. And almost every session, I get 100% rating from the National Federation of Independent Businesses that represent over 6,600 small businesses in Kentucky. Anti-tax, twice. I've been named as taxpayers' best friend for my voting record. Anti-big government, in 2015 and 16, the Kentucky League of Cities recognized me as a friend of Kentucky cities. They represent 380 cities in Kentucky. Guys, I've got the best job in the legislature. I'm on several committees, but I'm chairman of the Transportation Committee, which means I get to help write the road plan. When I returned to Oldham County after my service in the Air Force, the only road that had been improved was a 393 bypass in Crestwood. Since then, I've worked with Republican, Democratic governors, my House counterparts, and local officials to do several things. Number one, we have the new interchange at Buckner, number 8 at exit 18. We fixed Bridge Hill going from Crestwood to Centerfield, that dangerous road. We've got a new bridge, and we 3-laned it out to Abbott Lane. Commerce Parkway, where this church sits, is brand new. The overpass in LaGrange that goes to the office park, we did that, and the road through the office park is going to be completed later this year. In Jefferson County, if you know where the summit is, or the paddock now, you know that from Chamberlain Lane to Sleepy Hollow Road, we 5-laned that, and then from Sleepy Hollow Road to Murphy Lane, we 3-laned that, so that those of you coming from Crestwood have much better access to get on and off. But guys, we're not done yet. In this 2-year road plan, there's $40 million of road improvements for Oldham County. In Jefferson County, we've got $215 million worth of improvements, including $36 million to start the widening of 71 from Gene Snyder to LaGrange. The biggest need in Oldham County is to do that. You all know what the wrecks are like. When you have a fender bender, not to mention something worse than that, you know what the road is like. So my number one priority is that. In the 2-year road plan for Oldham County, we've got money to finish Abbott Lane from the overpass to 146. Straighten 393 around Clayton Lambert so it has a direct. It's going to take a while to get this done, but there's money to start it. And then we've got money in the budget that's been there for a while to widen Highway 42 from the county line to Hillcrest subdivision. For those of you that live there, you know what that's like. This past session was very difficult, the most difficult one I've been in, but there are no perfect bills, but we did the best we can. For pensions, we stopped the bleeding. Our pension has gone from $12 billion unfunded to $50 billion in 10 years. We stopped the bleeding. We funded education at the highest per pupil level ever, and we began the process of tax modernization. When we lowered the income tax from about 6% to 5%, we jumped from 33 to number 18 on the list as tax friendly, and we have the 10th lowest income tax in the nation. My vision for the future, continue I-71, not just from LaGrange inward, but all the way into downtown Louisville, and there's money to start that process. We need to build on what we've done recently with $9 billion in investment last year, eclipsing the previous record of $5 billion, 17,000 new jobs, and we now have the lowest unemployment rate in the state. We need to do something for medical malpractice because it's driving our doctors out. I do want to mention one thing, and Tony, I appreciate your words. There's an illusion out there when you look at my opponent's website. He says that the incumbent has no respect for the Constitution, and I'm a career politician. He doesn't mention me by name, but I would say I served my country for 20 years, served my church for decades, and I've served you in the Senate for 24 years. Thank you. I appreciate your vote.
Thank you guys all for coming. It's exciting to see so many familiar faces in the crowd tonight, and I'm blessed and excited to get a chance to tell you about my campaign. First and foremost, I'm a small business owner. I've been involved in business in some way, shape, or form throughout most of my entire life. I understand and believe in free market capitalism. I have a business degree in finance, and I have a law degree. After passing the Kentucky bar, I started my own small business, a law firm, Alex R. White, PLLC. When I started, I was $126,000 in student loan debt. But I understand budgets, and I understand business, and I understand hard work. That's why today I own my own commercial building, I employ 10 people, and we do $1 million in annual revenue. Politically, I believe in small government. I believe that we should have low taxes and that the Constitution should be the guiding light for all decisions made by a legislature. I've been a Republican my entire life, but recently I've been very concerned about some of the Republican ideals I see coming out of Frankfort. I talked to some friends and they said, you should call your state senator, be active. Well, after reviewing my state senator's record, I thought that that call would be a waste of my 5 minutes. He has proven over and over in his time in office since 1995 that he is a straight party line vote. His votes are determined by the powers that be in Frankfort and not by the constituents. And that's unfortunate, because I think there's a lot of issues right now in Frankfort in which the Republican Party is misguided. There's ideas that are Republican in Frankfort that I don't think are Republican here at home. That's not how representative government is supposed to work. Our senator should not be governing from the top down, but should be constituent focused, governing from the bottom up, taking our voices to Frankfort. So in January, I decided to be active, extremely active, and that's why I'm running for state senate. I want to be in the same room as some of our misguided Democrat and Republicans in Frankfort and remind them that people are still watching, people are still listening, and our voice will be heard. We have to get rid of the good old boy system in Frankfort. We've got to get rid of the political games in Frankfort, and we've got to kill the 11th hour rip-off specials. Regardless of if you agreed or disagreed with what was in the sewage bill, how embarrassing is it for us as constituents that grown adults went through those shady and shameful process when making one of the most important decisions of the 2018 session? That is not representative government. Now, my opponent and I, we do have some things in common. We're both lifelong Republicans. We're both pro-life. We'll both defend the Second Amendment. And Ernie, we both hate the gridlock traffic on Interstate 71. But as you can imagine, considering our different backgrounds and a 40-year age gap between us, we have very different opinions about what Republicans in Frankfort should be up to these days. As your senator, I'll advocate for true Republican values of small government, low taxes, and innovation, which will allow Kentucky to maximize its competitive advantages. Unlike my opponent, I will advocate for reducing the power of the legislature and not growing it. Unlike my opponent did in March, I will never vote or advocate on WDRB for increasing taxes. Unlike my opponent, I will fight for free market capitalism. And unlike my opponent did in March, I will never vote for price-fixing measures amongst multiple industries that negatively affect small business in Oldham County. Unlike my opponent, I will stand up to out-of-state special interest groups. I will stand up to insurance companies. I will not take money from Big Pharma, but instead I will fight and advocate for the farmers, doctors, and patients of Oldham County. And unlike my opponent, I support police officers, firefighters, and teachers with votes and advocacy in the Senate. Unlike my opponent, I support term limits. And unlike my opponent, the first cut I'll make when I get to Frankfort is the lawmaker pension. our legislature has no business, no authority talking to anyone about pensions so long as their pensions remain intact. Thank you.
Well, I'm not exactly sure how to respond because the process is messy in Frankfurt, but that's the way it's supposed to be. We have to get things done. I don't know what he's referring to about how he's going to fix things, but I just refer to my voting record. The awards that I've won, the recognition I've won from the League of Cities, the chambers, and all that stuff reflect others' opinion about the job that I've done. I do want to mention one thing that on the pensions. There is not a single person in this room that wants to see our pensions fail at all. Here's a situation on that issue, very contentious. For 10 years, the Senate has voted for some sort of pension reform, only to die in the Democratic House. Republicans now control the House, the Senate, the governor, and we have to fix the bill. We did that, and we're the bad guys. It's been kicked down the road by Greg Stumbo and his team for 10 years. Secondly, because of that, we had to put in $1.2 billion extra into the budget to cover the pensions. To do that, we had to raise taxes. Do I like raising taxes? No. But I am not willing to let the teachers, the firefighters, and the police pension systems go bankrupt because I've got to take a tough vote. That's what this job entails. I stand by my record. I'm always open. My phone number is in the book. I never refuse to talk to a constituent. When you call my office in Frankfurt, all I ask my secretary to do is make sure it's a constituent. I will meet with you. I find my first meeting, and I about give everybody up 15 minutes. I'll give you at least 15 minutes, maybe more, for your issues. I feel I'm accessible. 241-8307 is my home phone number. Give me a call anytime, and I'll call you back as soon as I can. 241-8307. And I appreciate you coming tonight. I would honor your vote. Thank you.
Let's be honest. Mr. Harris does have a long resume in Frankfurt. But if you follow his record, and if you follow 2017, if you follow 2018, and you follow 2016, follow 2017, his business in Frankfurt today as normal is business as normal in Frankfurt today. And if you call yourself a conservative, or if you call yourself a small government Republican, that resume is not the resume you want for your Republican senator. We deserve better than just big government Republicans whose only ideas are tax and spend. I do have new ideas. One idea I have for tax saving for Kentucky is I want to require Medicaid reform, putting a $25 copay on all zero-deductible, zero-premium state-funded Medicaid plans for non-emergency emergency room visits. This would require some skin in the game for the end users of our tax dollars. Instead of going to the emergency room for an earache or a cold, they would be directed to an urgent care center or a Kroger clinic. This would save taxpayers thousands of dollars per visit. If I'm elected as state senator, the GOP will get some much needed new energy and some much needed fresh ideas. But most importantly, the GOP in Kentucky will get representation in Oldham County. If you want a senator to take your voice to Frankfurt and provide real representation, you've got a chance. But you've got to find somebody tough, you've got to find somebody with backbone, and you've got to find somebody with real guts. Find somebody that's willing to circle a career politician and tell him he's not Republican enough for me. He doesn't believe in representation the same way that I do. He won't stand up to out-of-state special interest groups like I will. He won't stand up to insurance companies like I will. He doesn't represent me, and he doesn't represent true Republican values. Let's show Kentucky what true Republican values are all about. Vote Alex White, May 22nd. Thank you.